Hi everyone, welcome back to Young and Wiped Up. This is Marcella.
And I'm Gabby.
And thanks for joining us this week for another episode.
We would love if you could stop what you're doing and rate and review us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and any other podcasting platform that you guys listen to us on, including YouTube for our YouTube watchers. Also, if you would like to support us, you can join our Facebook group for free, or you could join our Patreon group, which has 3 different tiers with a ton of exclusive content. Head to patreon.com/youngandwifeup. All right, guys. If you're watching the YouTube video, you might be confused about what's going on right now. And Marcella and I are just as confused as you guys are. Today, we are joined by Marcella's husband, Jed, and my husband, Ryan. And they're hiding under the table. Okay, here they are.
Everyone watching on YouTube is like,
Ryan, welcome back to the podcast.
hey everyone, it's great to be back.
Jed, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
That was all their idea, by the way, to hide under our tables in our respective homes. Anyway, we have had both Ryan and Jed on the podcast twice before. In probably season 2, I believe, we had 2 episodes with them, part 1 and part 2. That's called The One with Our Husbands. And that was like 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
We recorded it all in person.
Yeah.
The first one.
Like 3 years ago, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was a big
And
one.
then last season, we recorded 2 episodes called Living on One Income. And you guys got an inside look into our household financial management system, how we went from 2 income households to 1 income household. So if you're interested in that, go check back at those episodes. We are going to be doing 3 episodes with Jed and Ryan this month. It is the month of love. So we thought, why not bring the people we love the most into
Ryan,
the
why are you
podcast.
What? I didn't know this was Valentine's
Themed.
themed. Yeah.
Well, I literally said that in my
pink
pitch.
shirt with the massive heart on it.
Yeah.
I said in my pitch to everybody, hey guys, in light of Valentine's Day, we should
That
have
is
a
true.
husband-packed
Wow.
month. So here we
That's
go.
cool.
You
Okay.
guys have 3 episodes to look forward to. It's going to be chaotic. We're going to do our very, very best not to laugh so much that our audio goes kaput. Speaking of which, Emily on Spotify, thank you, Emily, for commenting on our last episode, said that she had a hard time hearing Marcella's disaster sweet potato pie story because we were both laughing so hard that the audio completely left the building. So, Marcella, can you give us a brief recap of your story to those that didn't get to hear?
Okay, I can't remember where it cut out because I did listen back to it after we published it, and I was like, you literally can't hear anything that I'm saying. So I apologize. We thought that my little external mic thing was working, but turns out it's not. So we are going to have to probably figure something else out for our audio so it's a little bit more clear. Anyway, the sweet potato casserole disaster, originally why I talked about this is because somebody asked what your most embarrassing story was as like a homemaker, wife, mother, or something like that. And this was the one that I could come up with. So it was the first year that we were going to be doing Thanksgiving with Jed's family. And do you know what I'm going to talk about?
Yep.
So I have made this sweet potato casserole before. It's like my famous sweet potato casserole recipe. And so in the apartment that we were living in at the time, I made the whole thing. I put the marshmallows on, and the recipe says to broil it for like 5 minutes, which is a lie. You should never broil anything for more than 30 seconds without checking it because it's a fire hazard. So I made the whole thing. I put the broiler on and I stuck the casserole in, and lo and behold, I kid you not even 30 seconds later, the whole casserole was on fire. It set a flame
Literally
inside
on
of the
fire.
oven. And so here I am screaming at Jed. Thankfully, we had no children at the time, so it was just me and my husband that were put in bodily harm's way. So I was screaming for Jed because I didn't know what to do. I literally opened it, saw the flames, and immediately closed it again and was like, I don't know what to do. And all
Pro tip, women, if you ever see something wrong, you don't go, what do I do? No, you alert your husband or somebody nearby.
I did. I told you. I was like screaming for you as I saw what was happening. Anyway, so I was in a panic and all logic and reason literally left me at that moment. And I was like, I think we're gonna have to throw water on this. Like, I don't know what to do.
Oh, God.
And Jed so calmly came to the kitchen and opened the oven and literally just blew out the marshmallows, and that was it. And
They
the
were on
fire was
fire.
taken care of. And I was like standing there like, okay, thank you.
Don't worry, guys. She hasn't made the same mistake. She hasn't touched it.
No, I have made that sweet potato casserole, but I will not do anything if I'm broiling it. I will not go and wash a dish. I will not go and clean anything. I will not proceed to make anything else. My eye is literally on the oven the entire time because they will be done in a second. Anyway, so I was able to scrape all of the very burnt marshmallows off of the sweet potato casserole. And thankfully, I had the forethought to buy a second bag of marshmallows at the store when I was doing my Thanksgiving shopping earlier that week. So we took the half prepared sweet potato casserole to his parents' house, which was like my debut Thanksgiving meal. So it was extremely embarrassing. Thankfully, I don't think they even knew what happened. They just thought that we were running late, and
Yeah,
I
like
just
extra
didn't have
crispy.
I just didn't have time to finish
It's like a
it.
smoky flavor.
Yeah, it was very smoky for sure. So yeah, we got to his parents' house, and then I just brought the bag of marshmallows with me and just put new marshmallows on, and then I broiled it in their parents' oven. And I did
She
not.
burnt it a second time. I'm
No,
joking.
I did not. It was just as it was supposed to be the second time. But yeah, that was very.
It's not as
embarrassing.
bad as throwing a pizza in the oven with the cardboard.
That's the one I volunteered for you. I already told him about that
Yay.
one.
Hi, guys.
Yeah.
That was Jeff.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, she gave a riveting recap of that story last week, Jed. So don't worry. It has been told. Your story has been told.
Hey,
We
not
are
the only one in this
we
house.
are just like a fire hazard prone family, I guess.
Do they know?
No kidding, Jed.
We'll save that story for another episode, okay, guys? You'll have to, that will go behind the Patreon wall.
Wow, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
You have to put a paywall behind that story.
Uh-huh. No, that story is worthy of some dollars.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Wasn't it a good thing for Marcella to close the oven to like cut off the oxygen?
No.
Yeah, I think that's what you're supposed to do, usually.
When you open
I guess
it,
it's
and when you
really
close
hot
it,
in
you
there.
Put more oxygen in there.
Well, yeah, but I
acts like a
shouldn't
vacuum.
have opened it in the first place, probably.
You shouldn't have closed it in the first place because that's just like.
You shouldn't have broiled it in the first place. Is the
I know.
Moving on.
Okay.
We got a lot to get through.
Yes. Today we are going to do a fun episode for you guys. Both Marcella and I are going to ask our husbands to explain things regarding our various interests, homemaking, girl stuff, etc. Now,
Okay. Wait, I have a question.
yeah.
After they give their answer, do we just say, yeah, that's totally right, no matter what? Or should we like correct them if they're wrong?
I have a suggestion. I say Wait, how many questions are we asking?
6.
6. I say we act it. We make it like an assignment where you just stonewall face, but then we
Okay.
know we find out how good we did at the end.
Okay, so we want to go through the questions, and then
Uh-huh.
after we go through all of them, we'll let you know how you guys did.
Boom.
Okay,
Because
that's
it's gonna
fine
hurt our
with me.
confidence if we're 3 in. You've gotten every single run wrong. So
Right. Okay, we need to keep your guys'
Okay.
confidence nice and
I
boosted.
already know. I
Exactly.
don't know what
Ignorance
I'm
is
talking
bliss.
about.
So here are the rules. Ryan and Jed have to completely confidently answer all of our questions, whether or not they know the answer, if they're unsure of all the facts, or if they don't know anything at all. Then after, we will tell them how close or how far their explanations are from the truth. And we'll flip-flop who will go first with answering each question, but we'll give both Jed and Ryan a chance to try to answer each question. That way they both can fill each other's gaps. So, Marcella, I'm going to have you, since I've been chatting a lot, I'm going to have
Can
you
you-
ask all the questions.
I don't know what the questions are.
Oh, I'll send them right now. Do you want me to send them on Signal to you?
Yeah, just do in our chat.
Is it gonna
Okay.
go Ryan?
Oh, I
and then
forgot that I
you, Ryan?
deleted them. I
know.
originally sent the questions for them to preview, and then I was like, this was a mistake. They can't
Mhm.
plan ahead of time their reactions. So I deleted it from our group chat. So now I have sent them to Marcella. Okay, Marcella, I'm gonna have you ask all the questions, and then you can
Okay.
decide who will go first for each one. And I'm gonna bow out. Here, Ryan, you can have the mic.
Okay.
Hello.
All right. Question number 1. Jed, why don't you answer first and then we'll give Ryan a shot.
Got it.
Can you explain what a sourdough starter is, what it means to feed it, and how long it takes us to make a simple loaf of sourdough bread from start to finish? There's three. There's like
Yeah. So
three.
the first thing, a sourdough starter, what it is salt, flour, and water, and it's basically so the sourdough doesn't have gluten. It's almost like yeast. It takes the place of yeast. Yeast is self-rising. Sourdough is ancient. It goes back a long time. So it's like a starter to a bread. It has special enzymes in it. I forgot what the enzymes do, but I know they're good for your gut, and there's no gluten in it. And then, you said how long? How long does it take?
How long? Oh, what does it mean to feed it?
Oh, to feed it, you give it more sugar and flour. That's a no. That's a no. Hold on, let me think.
You're doing great, Jed.
Clearly, by their
Okay,
reactions.
I'm sorry.
um,
I'm just gonna be like this the whole time.
yeah, so you give it more flour, you give it more substance to feed off of, and time it typically takes to make one simple sourdough loaf.
Wait, what do you give it? You changed your answer. What do you?
To feed it, you give it flour.
Okay, that's it.
Yes.
Okay.
Final answer.
Okay.
And then how long it takes, I'm gonna say 12 to 14 hours. It can take,
Okay.
depending on climate.
All right. Okay. That's Jed's answer. Ryan.
Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have a really hard time not laughing.
I don't know.
Honestly, even if your
I'm
answers are
learning
right, I
something.
still might laugh.
All right, Ryan, go.
I'm
You're
gonna
up.
laugh whether it's right or wrong.
Wrong and right, yeah. Ryan, what is sourdough starter? What does it mean to feed it? How long does it take to make a loaf from start to finish?
Okay, so well, it does need to be up
Okay.
somewhat. So sourdough starter is a living organism. It is alive.
Okay.
It is the lowest life form where it's like it maybe kind of like a plant, like it can grow. It grows. You guys put it in the jars and overnight, and then it's like overflowing by the time it's It's doing something. It's alive.
Okay.
And no, and yes, like you have to, I mean, it's crazy because you have to make it at first. So I mean, you're taking like flour and water, like Jed said, and then you create this living thing. And then it's really hard to make. That's like probably the hardest part. Let's see. And then what, like, how does you feed it?
What does it mean to feed it?
You give it more stuff to make it grow. Like,
What stuff?
the stuff it needs. Like, I don't know. I think water, sure, salt, flour, everything you said. That sounds good to me. Yeah, I don't think it probably doesn't have gluten in it. The sourdough starter.
Right.
I mean, you can probably make other breads, but the sourdough one, I think, has no gluten or maybe little to no. And then
How long does it take to make a loaf from start to finish?
I would say I think it might be like a 2 or 3 day process.
Okay.
Because like sometimes I don't know. I just come down and I see all these stages of like it's in a jar. It's in a jar and the jar's overflowing. But then and then sometimes it's like we have no bread and I'm like, man, where are we at in this process? And then but then I sometimes I open the fridge and then it's like in your nice little basket thing and it's like it's all dough or something, but that's probably after you've stretched and did the stretch and folds, I think. And then I know like, okay, we're getting there. Like you're about to put it in the Dutch oven and then it's almost ready. So I think I'd say at least 2 days, maybe 3.
If you're low on bread, you call your head baker and threaten to fire her. I need bread.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's what I say. That's my final answer.
I think we
Okay.
essentially land up on the same ones.
We
so.
we need to keep track of who said what. Also, I really can't get over the lowest living life form. I would really like for you to say that to my starter's face, Clint Eastwood. You go over there and tell him that he's the lowest living life form.
It's not like on the level of animals.
No, you're right.
It doesn't have feelings.
Yeah.
I'm
right.
going to write down their
doesn't-
answers so that we can
doesn't-
refer back to them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Are you ready? C-store?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Ryan, you're gonna go first on this one. What is mother culture?
Mother culture is like something you guys refer to. It's like a really toxic thing amongst you ladies. And like you kind of like refer to it as like a thing where like you're you it's like what you guys like try to avoid, and stuff. Like when ladies get together and like, oh yeah, mother culture, where you're like it's just full on toxic. You're talking about your husbands, you're just ragging on them and you're gossiping about just anyone and like talking about like trash TV. It's like what you guys
really
are
hard.
like don't want to do.
Okay.
I am
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Jed, what is mother
Oh
culture?
gosh. I think I think mother culture is the current. It's actually the opposite of what you're mentioning, Ryan. It's like shaping. Let's see. It's taking joy in being a mother instead of seeing the the heavy burden of it that we've seen from a previous generations, but seeing kind of the plus side of it, seeing like the I guess joy or benefits of it. I think I would venture us to say it's pretty crunchy. like it has like holistic medicine in it, and it has a lot of people go hand in hand with it, with like the sourdough people and like the raw milk diet stuff. So it's like healthy living, healthier, more organic living, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to expand any more? Nope, that's about it.
We'll be here all day.
Okay. All right. Cool. Gabby's still keeping track of the boys' answers. The men,
You
sorry.
guys are trying really hard.
Okay.
I appreciate the
Okay.
effort.
Jed,
Okay, here we go.
what are the 4 phases of a female cycle? Bonus points if you can explain what happens at each phase of the cycle.
Oh no. So I have to say the names of each stage?
Yeah, what are the names of each?
So what are the 4 stages? What are they? So I know menstruating is shedding the interior lining of the uterus to get rid of the egg, since it's past the fertilization phase, which is called ovulation.
Okay.
So that phase would be like, oh my gosh,
Well, which one comes first? What's the first phase?
I don't. Oh, jeez. The first one?
Yeah.
Very first one. I don't know.
Okay, but you're just saying menstruation is one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know
There was another one that you mentioned.
ovulation.
Okay.
I know that stage.
Okay. All right.
Man, why did I saw this and I was like, I know the phases, but now I'm drawing a blank.
Put your hands down.
No. No, just those two. So one stage, ovulation, prepares to be fertilized. Once it passes that stage, it goes to menstruation, and that's shedding the interior lining. That's where the bleeding comes from. And then it resets. Hormones reset, and then those first beginning to. So I guess I have 3 and 4 figured out, but I don't have 1 and 2 figured out.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Final answer. I don't know.
All
You
right.
want to tag team me in?
Okay. We're phoning a friend, Ryan. What are the names of the stages of a woman's cycle?
I thought that was-
And bonus points if you can tell us what happens in each one.
I thought it was the other way around, but okay. Go ahead.
If I'm gonna have to give a competent answer, because yeah, Jed is right. There's definitely those menstruation, ovulation. There's probably like then there's like rage, and then and then there's regret, denial, acceptance.
Are we talking about
6 stages of grief? Yeah.
maybe they go hand in hand? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what's happening during them.
Oh, okay. You're not saying those
like
are the
how you
names.
feel.
It's right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Menstruation, ovulation. I guess there's probably like a term for post ovulation.
It would be menstruation, wouldn't it?
Am I adding that?
No, menstruation comes after that.
Am I adding that?
Because you only ovulate maybe 1 or 2 days,
Right.
in this whole cycle, and I guess the cycle includes. I guess like maybe when does it start? Maybe menstruation is at the end.
That's what I'm saying.
So
And
you
maybe
think
ovulation is at the either 2 or 3.
So you're saying that you are calling one of the phases post ovulation.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
see.
you have 3 phases.
because ovulation is only like a few days, and then there's post ovulation, and then you're gonna menstruate, but that first one is probably like pre ovulation.
Okay.
It's a lot like
Oh, we're making up terms
you know,
now? We could do that?
like there's like prebiotics, probiotics, postbiotics. It maps a lot to the
Antibiotics, postbiotics, prebiotics.
everything's tied to the gut as well. So
Okay.
All right, I think
All
I got like a 25% on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, okay. Ryan, can you explain red light therapy and why we do it?
Okay. All right.
No, Ryan's gonna go
I know.
first.
Okay, fine.
Ryan Peacock.
like what you say it does, or what I think,
what
or what
does
I
Google say?
doubt is happening.
What does Google say it does?
Well, it's a lot like it's like almost the reverse of all these EMF waves going on. It's a positive light ray to us, and it's like the next best thing to be directly looking at the sun and soaking in all of those vitamin D properties. It's just like, it's the next best thing you can do is, be inside with your red light, and it's probably comparable to that.
Okay.
But
Why do we do it?
why do you do it? For health benefits. Yeah. But also, it's also just really practical as far as winding down for the night. I think there's some benefits, is like it's not as harsh as like your phone screen and everything. Like I wish that we could have a red light in the bathroom for getting up at night, so that usually I guess I just don't turn on a light at all, but if I could, then like a red light would be good.
Gabby's ordering that tonight
I
on
feel like
Amazon.
I'm pretty sure,
Amazon.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they make red light night lights.
They do.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Okay, so
Jeff.
red light therapy
Wow. Okay, he's ready.
is like it's not is like it's concentration of the healthy UV rays from the sun. So just like going outside and being in front of the sun for a long period of time, this is a lower, I guess a dimmer light, but it's a higher concentration of the good benefit of the good rays that we want. And the reason why we do it, like Ryan said, it's for health benefits, but that's pretty broad. What it does is it draws the white blood cells to the surface of the skin, and it actually helps fight infection. So we do that a lot to like if we're sick, to fight infection like that. We do it at nighttime to lower or to heighten melatonin levels. It's a different type of light than the normal bright UV ones that we have from our phone or from our
What are
light
the
bulbs.
bulbs that I actually hate?
The bulbs?
Yeah. What are the kinds of bulbs that I literally hate?
LEDs. So it lowers the LED filtration in our system, and it helps reset our circadian rhythm. So it's
All right.
all I know is I
Red
feel great afterwards.
Jed gave the answer like talking to a high school student or a college student, and I gave it to like a middle schooler.
The important thing is was it right for both of us?
Okay. Jed,
Listen,
who are Weston A. Price and Ray Pete? What do or did they do? Why do we care about them?
don't know who Ray P is. I'll be frank with that. Weston A. Price was an advocate for mothers and natural birth and fighting Western medicine intervention in both pre-birth, birth, and post-birth scenarios. And we like them because they encourage holistic vitamins and holistic living to benefit both mama and baby. But this Ray Peat guy, I have no clue who he is.
Okay. Ryan, who are these people? What do they do? And why do we care about them?
Oh boy. Okay. So first we have to start off when you're in a group of people and you're like eating stuff, maybe you're out eating and you're talking and you're talking about certain kinds of food, and then someone's kind of like, oh, like, they start, hey, you know what they say, um, this food is actually good for you. You know what they say, but actually, someone will say something like, oh, I know I shouldn't be eating so much bread, and someone says, oh, well, you know what they say, bread's actually good, and all that, and just how they have been shifting around so much these past years. Everything that's been good is now bad. Well, Weston A. Price is one of the newest regime leaders, and he's empowering a lot of you women out there to be overturning everything. No more plant-based diet, thankfully. I mean, we were,
Out of here, vegans.
like it's kind of like history to where like somewhere around maybe the early to late 2000s, well, maybe like 2010s, we entered into a dark age where we took milk away. It was almond milk. That's what's good for you. That's what's healthy. And I'm trolling a lot, but I guess, I don't know. It's all the rage. All of you guys are hopped up and reading all this stuff about Weston A. Price. He was a dentist. I think he was a dentist around the early 1900s or something. And he originally went to some tribe, some African tribe maybe. And he found that their teeth were really good. And he was like, why is that the case? And it's because they eat in a very primitive way or whatever. And so his whole thing is trying to go back to an ancestral diet or whatever. So like, and that explains, and like all the trends that we've been having with like, we took away real butter and eggs, and we demonized all this stuff that was actually good things that everyone used to do. And it's getting in touch. Yeah, it's all ancestral. And now it's kind of a bit of a big ancestral thing that's kind of going on, like big pharma. Now it's big ancestral, and they're pretty powerful right now. But then there's a new mover and shaker, Ray Peat. And he came along and I don't know. Apparently Ray Peat's some new guy or whatever. He actually just died recently or something. Yeah, didn't he? He died somewhat recently.
Go ahead.
But I guess there's probably overlap or whatever between them. They probably share a lot similarly, but I don't know. Ray Peat's like, if you thought Weston A. Price ancestral diet was good and you're eating more meat and milk, will get ready for Ray Peat because he thinks Coke is good. And there's going to be a lot more fun stuff going on in your diet.
Are we talking about cocaine or cola?
Coca-Cola.
Okay, good.
But it has to be real cane sugar Coke. So everything's getting overturned. Nothing's safe. I mean, but then in 10 years, 50 years, we're going to go full circle and we're going to be taking seed oil supplements and realizing we were all wrong. Sorry, we have to go back. But yeah, I don't know.
It's actually just genetic. We have no control.
I would really like, though. I mean, obviously, a lot of these things are like new trends with you guys. It's all the blogs you're reading are all about these. You're all hopped up on this, but I would want more like debates with like a Weston A. Price advocate, like this Sally O'Fallon girl, debating, probably, you know, like a roundtable discussion with like a vegan, a carnivore, a Weston A. Price-ite, and a Ray Petist.
You know who I almost said Ray
And-
Pete was?
Is this?
I almost thought it was Ray Comfort. I was like, isn't he the guy in Venice?
Yeah,
like Kelly?
is a
was like,
popular
that's all right.
evangelist.
Yeah. I was like, it's not,
He's
not
He's
the same Ray.
evangelizing
Side
something.
advice.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Brian. Thank you for your very thorough answer.
I had a lot. I had a lot of stuff to get off of my chest.
This is actually Ryan's episode.
Mind you, I think what Ryan is trying to say is that he is very happy with how his wife cooks now and what she makes for
Yeah.
him. Yes.
Until the new regime comes, and then they're like, "Sorry, guys." I'm just kidding. I don't know.
All right. Ryan, what is the difference between knitting and crochet? What is the difference between embroidery and cross stitch?
Oh boy. Okay, knitting.
So
and
knitting and crochet, and then embroidery and cross stitch.
oh boy.
Oh boy, he's right.
I feel like knitting, you're gonna need a machine. I don't know. Like, come on. Like,
Oh, I know what it is.
I know. I feel like knitting is like you need that. No, that's a sewing machine.
That's called sewing.
I feel like in one of these, Jed and I need to like go back and forth and
Okay.
arrive at the truth,
I know at
like reason with one another.
I know at least the first two.
Well, hold on. Okay, I'll just give a quick answer. Crocheting, I guess, is like, I think, bigger things, bigger threads. I like crocheted a blanket or a beanie. Stitching is probably like fixing something. And what were the other things?
It was between cross stitch and embroidery. What's the difference between cross stitch and embroidery?
Embroidering is like where you have the needle and then the threads. It's very thin in the different colors, and you're poking it through and going in and out or whatever. And then cross stitching, I don't even know if you do that. So yeah, I don't know.
On the rabbit trail. There's actually nothing
I don't know if I know what cross stitching is or what knitting or no. Yeah. Crocheting is what you like you're seeing the old lady do, and you know, with all the stuff, and she has
I'm the old lady who crochets.
with her tea,
All right.
can we get a tea?
That's
Okay.
about it for me.
Okay, Jed, what is the difference? Do one section at a time. What is the difference between knitting and crocheting first?
So crocheting is with one hook. It's not a needle. It's I don't know what you would call it. I guess you would call it a needle, but it has a barb in the end, like that. And you have one, and you're doing a series of knots.
Okay.
Okay. Whereas that's crochet. Knitting is used with two straight needles. You're still making knots, but you're using two at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. So depending on your project, I believe knitting is faster, but crocheting is you can be more detailed because you're only using one.
Okay. All right. What is the difference between cross stitch and embroidery?
I know embroidery is you have a piece of cloth pulled over, it's pulled taut over a hoop that has a little cincher. I don't know what you want to call it. It has like a tension ring around the outside, so the top is nice and flat. And like Ryan was saying, it's one needle, and you're able to kind of go up and down through the hoop. That's embroidery. Cross stitching, I'd imagine by the name, it's something similar, but instead of all the the thread, the thread, I don't know what you want to call it, like the thread loops going in one direction, but different colors. Cross stitching is just going back and forth. I don't cross stitching. I'm not sure, but I would imagine if you're putting in the same boat as embroidery, it's got to mean it's a different method to do the same thing. I'd have to say that.
Okay.
She's pleased with the answer. I'm close.
I'm impressed.
I'm close.
Jen?
Thank you, Ryan and Jed, for your riveting answers. I apologize to our listeners if you heard me laugh every single answer. I really tried to control myself. But we're going to tell them the answers now and tell them
Okay.
how close they got. So I'll start. Marcella and I, why don't we go back and forth?
Okay.
So a sourdough starter is wild yeast, and it's created by flour and water. In order to feed it, you take a little bit of the starter and you add flour and water to it, and then it will grow. It is a living organism. I don't know if I agree with
Lowest form.
Ryan's lowest form. I guess technically it is, but it gives so much life to our kitchen that I don't know. I just feel like
Quality.
anyway. And it depends on the loaf. I'd say an average loaf of bread would take maybe 24 to 48 hours from start to finish. That includes feeding the starter all the way to baking. And then typically with any sourdough bread, you don't want to cut into it right away because it continues baking even after you take it out of the oven. And so sometimes you don't even cut into it immediately. You wait for a couple hours at the very least. It depends on the bread. But for a simple loaf, I'd say 2 days. Sometimes Marcella and I will keep our loaves in our fridge for several days to continue the fermentation process. But we could do it as low as 12 hours, 24 hours, depending on the loaf. Anyway, so you guys were pretty close. Both of you were pretty close. I have heard of some starters being fed with sugar, a chocolate starter. There's like some.
That's called a sweet stiff starter.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
if you're making like pastry type stuff.
It is more rare. It is a less common starter, but people that are really into starters will make different kinds, and that is a kind, but it's not as common as a regular wild yeast starter. Marcella, do you want to explain what mother culture is? And
I was completely trolling with my answer. Could I give a small thing?
30 seconds.
It's just encouraging you guys to continually learn, that mothers would continue their educational process.
Okay.
Okay, there's actually one more thing I wanted to add about the sourdough stuff.
Yeah.
Sourdough is not gluten-free. You can make gluten-free sourdough, but you have to use gluten-free flour. Now, sourdough is lower on the glycemic index than regular yeasted bread.
Okay.
But it still does have gluten in it.
Yeah, and the longer you ferment, the more the gluten breaks down, but there is still gluten in it, unless you use gluten-free. People, like I said, that there's different kinds of starters. People make a gluten-free starter. So it's,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead, Marcella.
Okay, well, now that Ryan gave us his serious answer,
He hit it on the head. He was like, "Yeah, I was just trolling. I didn't know what it
he's
means."
the closest to yes what it is. It's a mother continuing her education in various ways.
Okay.
And that could, I mean, that doesn't just mean like academically, but also things having to do with the home or children. It spans across many different things. But I think what the primary, like the primary original idea was a mother continuing her education in order to school her children better. So
Did Charlotte Mason like coin that term or something?
no, it was actually somebody who wrote an article in like a Charlotte Mason publication called the PNU. And they wrote about mother culture, but it's based off of Charlotte Mason's principles and ideas.
Yeah, it's like her philosophy applied to mothers.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So this was my favorite answer of all time. The fact that you guys have been married, both of you, 5+ years. You guys are going on your 8th year of marriage. We are going on our 7th. It's very concerning to me. You know, Ryan actually got a lot of things right as far as the vibes for each stage.
What's that?
No,
He said the
vibe
gut stuff.
Oh, the gut stuff.
Okay.
Oh, but yeah, he got the vibes right, you know.
Regret,
He has
grief.
a general idea.
Yeah. But the 4 stages of a women's cycle are menstruation, follicular, ovulatory, and luteal. Those are the 4 phases. So there is a pre-ovulation, like Ryan said. Pre-ovulation is the follicular phase. It's when the egg is preparing to release. Ovulation is when the egg is released. And the luteal phase depends whether or not that egg is fertilized or not. And then that's the rage phase that Ryan was referring to. Not that I indulge myself in rage during the luteal phase, but it is definitely a common temptation among women during that phase. And then the cycle, which leads to regret in the menstruation phase. So the whole thing is the building up of the uterine lining, preparing for possible pregnancy, and then if pregnancy does not happen, the body prepares to shed the uterine lining, which Jed got correct. There is a shedding and growing of the uterine lining, whether or not the woman becomes pregnant or not. So you guys did pretty good, but you guys do need to learn about the follicular
Yes.
and the luteal phase.
Can I be honest? So I remember reading about a phase with that luteal, right? I just couldn't remember the name because the only name in my head that came was gluteal. And I was like, it's not a butt muscle. Like it's something. Look, I know it has an L in it. It sounds like luteal, but I was like, it's not gluteal. It's not glucose. I was like, that's sugar. I was like, what is it? I couldn't think of the name, so I just kept my mouth shut. But
Okay,
luteal,
I believe you, Jed. I'll give you half a point for that one.
Boom, I'll take it.
Okay, Marcella.
Okay, red light therapy, why do we do it? So the simplest explanation, Jed actually got quite a few things right as far as like it helps with your circadian rhythm. It does replicate some of the same like UV rays that you get from the sun. But it also helps to decrease inflammation, and it helps with like things like cellular turnover, to help with healing cells in the body. And a bonus piece of information, it is actually really great for your skin, and it is good if you have like sore muscles. So kind of like what I was saying, inflammation generally, it's good for that, especially if you have like a heated red light therapy, which we do have. So
We have the same one that you guys use for chicks and chicken coops.
we have like a chicken brooder.
So I feel like a chicken whenever I'm in front of it.
It's really funny because like Ryan was saying like this is like some new technology, and it's actually so old because I brought my red light therapy lamp over to my grandparents because our puppy needed it. He wasn't feeling so great, so I brought it over to him. And he was saying like he remembers his grandfather used to have one, who grandfather or his father or something like that, used to have a red light therapy lamp. And it was a heated, it's the same exact one that we had. And he would use it. He like got into an accident or something, and he would get really bad like inflammation, soreness in his arms. And so after he would come home from work, he would literally sit under the red light, and it was one of the only things that like helped with his pain. And so he was like, this brings me back to the days where my grandfather or whatever would like had his red light therapy, and it would help him with.
Did you take it out of the chicken house at that time?
I don't know. But they had it like on like a standing a standing thing, and they would just turn it on and use it. So
it's the rage now, but it wasn't the rage before.
it's coming back. It's definitely coming back.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Ryan's defense, even though he was, he's a jokester, he did mention that he does enjoy having it at night, and it is a part of our daily routine.
I do like the practical benefits of it. Of just it helps wind down. Like it's a less harsh light, and kind of helps prepare you to eventually, no light.
Yeah.
Knock out.
It's like a trigger for your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So Jed has no idea who Weston A. Price or Ray Pete is, even though Weston A. Price does have a lot of good stuff for pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, postpartum, and also feeding infants. But he is not known for natural birth or other things like that, even though I'm sure he had probably endorsed it. But he is, yeah. So Ryan was correct, even though Ryan, again, is Mr. Jokester again. He listens to me rant about this stuff like on a daily basis. And I also have forced him to listen to the Weston A. Price Foundation's podcast like a million times. So he knows all the talking points. And yeah, so Weston A. Price, like Ryan said, was a dentist turned researcher. He did a lot of research on indigenous tribes and how their mouths and jaws looked different than those that were on a American diet of processed foods, seed oils, etc. And even though there is a new resurgence, I agree, in the past 5-ish years of our generation of women and mothers getting into Weston A. Price nourishing traditions. It has been around for a very long time, since the early 1900s, and Sally Fallon and all the people connected to him have been around for a long, long time. And it's just that now that we have social media, things become more widespread. And yeah, so we have an entire podcast episode called Ancestral Diet or Ancestral Eating. And we also briefly mentioned Ray Pete. And Marcella is way better at explaining who Ray Pete is, because she is not a Petite. She's a Peter. We call them Peters. Marcella's not a full Peter. Marcella just kind of takes flavors from everybody. And I kind of do too. I'm an intuitive eater. I like Ray Pete. I like Weston A. Price. I like what I like. But Marcella, who's Ray Pete?
So Ray Pete was a biologist, and Ryan was correct. He did pass away, I think 3 years ago or something like that. Anyway, he has also been around for a long time, and it is only, like you were saying with Weston A. Price, his stuff is kind of coming back in a resurgence because of social media. And his focus was on thyroid health. And he also did a lot of work on women's health specifically, as far as like hormonal things go, how diet plays into hormones and that sort of thing. So there is a lot of overlap from Weston A. Price into Ray Peat. They do like kind of recommend a lot of the same things as far as like food goes. But I would say Weston A. Price is a lot more natural. I think like completely natural, like absolutely really nothing as far as like modern medicine or things. I don't really ever hear them talk or endorse things like that. Ray Peat, however, does bring sometimes modern things into play. Like aspirin is one of the things that he endorses, as along with like sometimes knowing like thyroid medication can help people with certain issues. Anyway, that is like, I feel like Ray Peat's stuff is very there's a lot more science involved, as far as like, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. He's like very smart and but is able to like break things down easily, and I know that he was known for being willing to help people with their health issues like at no cost. Like he would be answering hundreds of emails a day expecting nothing in return, trying to help people with their problems because he just had all of this knowledge about this stuff and just like wanted to help people as much as he could. And it wasn't until there were a couple of guys who were really close to him started, they literally had to force him to take money from them. They would like raise money for him and they would like tell him like, please take this money, like these people appreciate your work so much, like let us let us help you, financially and all stuff. Anyway, so yeah, there is definitely overlap between Weston A. Price, Ray Peat, and I think we probably go into it more on our ancestral diet episode. So
I do know who Ray Comfort is, though. That's important.
that's
Jed.
a completely different Ray.
Jed, who is Ray Comfort?
Oh, we're actually, he's an evangelist that goes to Venice Beach, and he goes, "Are you saved? Are you a liar? Are you a criminal? Have you done?" "Well, I'm a human." "No, you're a sinner." "Where
Do
are
you
you
think
gonna
you're a
go?"
good person?
"Yeah, do you think you're a good person? Why do you think you're a good person?" And he said, "Yeah, it's pretty great."
Quick question, super quick. So I feel like Ray Peat came out of nowhere in terms of it was just so. No, I mean,
I think
for a while,
Ray Peat is more fringe than you realize.
yeah,
It's very, very fringe.
it
It's very
seems.
fringe.
It seems like I've noticed that Weston A. Price became very popular, and I wasn't even hearing my wife talk about this Ray Peat guy, and then he comes along. Is there any other figures that you know of or aware of that is comparable, or is this whole game really just people who are Weston A. Price or Ray Peat? I mean, or it's carnivores and like, who are the major players? Like,
Okay, so in my experience from what I've seen in like the Weston A. Price community, most of the time, if I ever see overlap with another like scientist, research, whatever, it ends up being Ray Peat. So it seems like people who align the most with Weston A. Price end up aligning quite a lot with Ray Peat as well because of how much overlap there is as far as like the food and diet goes. And I don't think I've ever really seen a lot of others.
I mean, there's people like Tim Cowan and Dr. Robert Mercola, but then again, like
Yeah, but
they're all
those are people who are like still alive. They're like more of like
Yeah.
modern day taking from
Mhm.
these other guys who were alive earlier and did research earlier and kind
Yeah.
of building off of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of like practitioners now but they highly rely upon the research of Weston A. Price and Ray Peat. Like the people that agree with them that are like new
Come to
or
the
like
same
that,
conclusions.
they all come to the same conclusions.
Did Ray Peat think of himself as being in any sort of school of thought?
No.
He was
No,
just doing his thing. Or
I think he was like Weston A. Price. He was kind of like a loner, in the sense of like it wasn't really something that he was part of of an organization or thought that it was ever going to amount to anything like that. But Gabrielle is right. Like Ray Peat stuff is very, very fringe. But I think the likelihood of you seeing anybody mentioned along Weston A. Price, it's probably going to be Ray Peat.
Yeah. Ryan's
I don't know if
trying
that
to
answers the
sort
question.
all this stuff out, even though, it's not really changing much. Like we've been eating this way for going on a third year, and we both have never felt better as far as nutrition goes. And, it's like,
quick question. I know we have to get going to the other episode.
we haven't gone to the last question yet.
Is bottled Coca-Cola with cane sugar, quote unquote, good for you?
Man, we are taking so many rabbit trails right now.
It depends on what your view is of carbs and how your body uses them. So, in my opinion, I don't think like a Mexican Coke is bad for you. And I like if I, could have one like a couple times a week, I probably would.
Even with the caramel color.
But it's not so much. I think one thing that we people in the crunchy community tend to forget is that overall, generally, people and their bodies can handle allopathic, modern chemicals and things like that. And it's probably not going to have like a huge. It's not going to cause your body to have a huge reaction to it. But that rests more not so much on the Coke part, but more so the sugar part, because that is like where you could just have like really sugary milk and it could probably act the same if you didn't want to do with like all of the caramel color or things like that. But if you had to choose between like an American Coke or a Mexican Coke, I would much rather have the cane sugar than like the high fructose corn syrup. So
there's a great divide in the crunchy community over sugar. What sugars are good for you? Which ones we should completely abstain from? Which ones we can have in moderation? Marcella and I land in a camp where we are okay with cane sugar. And that's a very unpopular take if you're a crunchy. That's why I say Ray Peat is fringe, because that's where Ray Peat and Weston A. Price disagree. Weston A. Price thinks there's no place for cane sugar and that there's no place for caffeine. And Ray Peat is okay with both and uses both in his methods.
Yeah, and I think that one of the other things that I like about Ray Peat is that even if he recommends certain things, he will always go back to, but if you don't feel good with it, don't do it anymore. Like just because just because I'm saying that I would recommend this to somebody who's dealing with these issues, if you try it and you experiment or whatever and you feel terrible with it, then stop doing it. Like then it's not going to work for you, and everybody's different. And some people really do feel awful if they have a lot of sugar, and if that's not what's going to work for you, then just don't do it anymore or don't have it. So I don't know. That's kind of like there's a lot of backlogged information. Like,
Ryan just wants a public debate. That's like all he wants. So,
I want
you
to
know,
fight somebody.
he
with
wants
this.
a public, moderated debate of every school of thought of nutrition and health and pharmaceuticals and all of it. He just,
it would be helpful.
well,
think
you
I
have a
agree.
wife. I think it would be helpful too. Unfortunately, he has a wife that has to sort through all of it herself and then try to come to the best conclusions
Yeah.
so he can.
Yeah.
But so I'm having a publicly moderated debate in my brain every
You saying I subscribe to this new form of health and eating and diet is like me saying, babe, I have a new eschatology now. Like we're not amillennial anymore. There's no rapture, babe. They've been lying to us.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
I'm going to tell you guys what the difference between embroidery and cross stitches. Jed, you were right on the money. Embroidery and cross stitch are very similar. Embroidery uses single strokes. There's a ton of different stitches that you can do. I'm really into embroidery. That's my handicraft of choice. But cross stitch, what you do small X's for the entire piece.
To
And
make a pattern.
Right.
you make a pattern with X's and there's no
Yeah.
other stitch. And embroidery has a ton of stitches, but
Mhm.
most of them are up and over. So
Okay.
yeah. I think you were also correct about knitting and crochet, but I'll let Marcella answer that.
Yeah. He was right on the money also with knitting and crochet. So crochet, you use a crochet hook.
Thank you.
It's
That's
not-
what it was
it's-
called.
yeah, not called
It's not like a
You
full
were-
hook.
no,
It's like a bar.
It is literally a hook. But it's a very small hook at the end.
Any hook.
And you don't make knots, you make stitches. That's what they're technically called.
Okay.
Crochet stitches. Knitting are 2 needles. You have knitting needles. Those are actually called needles. And those also make stitches. And you were right that knitting is actually faster than crochet and it uses less yarn, but you can be just as detailed and intricate with both crochet and
Okay.
knitting. So
Cool. So who got closer to A+?
oh man,
I
you
think-
guys were
I think that they were pretty much equal in how bad and how good.
You both got a D-. Okay.
I
So
feel
that's
like-
just passing.
There was a lot where I was clueless about something, but Jed knew a lot more. And then like I knew like different things about things
And I was
that Jed
clueless.
didn't.
Yeah.
But then Ryan can't help himself and has to troll half the time. So we
That's
don't
what
even.
you wanted.
You know, I'm really here for Ryan. I just want to see Ryan again
yeah.
and hear
Yeah.
him
This is honestly just like our hangout sesh, and you guys
Yeah.
are listening to it.
Listening in.
So we'll see you guys next time at our next hangout sesh. We're going to talk about marriage advice that our families ignore. Dun dun dun. All right, we'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out.
Bye.